We are EthereumMadrid. Maybe some of you already know us. So we are a group of people. At the moment we are 7 people, and we started, let's say, meeting and discussing Ethereum by the end of 2015. At this time we were just some freaks, and we thought, wow, there's something going to happen, and this will be big. And so we started meeting in Frida, a cafe in Schwecker, every Sunday and discussing all this change. But then we realized really soon, this is not enough, so we want to make meetups. And when the DAO hack happened, I don't know if you heard about this hack last year, it was quite a big thing. So many people lost money, but then they got it back, so everything was fine. We did a nice meetup about this topic, and we really enjoyed because we wanted to connect to the community, the same as we want to do now. And then we did another meetup with Gnosis together about prediction markets, which was really nice as well. And then came new thoughts about identity, and so on and so forth. So now there's a new topic ahead, and this is cryptoeconomics. And we think this is so important because it's actually going to the core. It's not what is happening right now. We are not speaking about what's happening in China, what's the next ICO, but we want to speak actually about the basics, and we want to understand really the essence of all this change happening. And yeah, if you want to join us, you can come to our Sunday meetings, you can come to our meetups, you can do courses with us, you can just join us in Slack, or you can just speak with us in real life as well. So Antonio will now present the agenda for today, and then we will start the meetup. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much to everybody for coming. We're really happy to have you here. And let me introduce what we're going to talk about this afternoon. It's going to be around an hour and a half. There are 3 parts. The first part, Sandra and myself, we will explain what is cryptoeconomics, basically the main concepts. And the second one, Luan, will go through what Maker DAO, which is an application that actually uses these concepts and is trying to create something really amazing, which is a decentralized central bank. If you ever wonder how a bank really works, well, you will see how, from different things, how it works, and we add this layer of decentralization to make things even more trickier. It's really cool. And in the last part, we will be speaking with the CEO himself through a Skype conference. So let's start. Okay, so the first thing that you have to understand or you have to know is that when we talk about cryptoeconomics, we're not talking about making a new branch in the economy. Okay, this is not about making more hooks around the economy. In fact, it goes the other way around. It is not cryptography for economists, it's more economics for cryptographers. That means that all this world that we are seeing, this brand new world, is this decentralized ecosystem that is happening. Well, it's based on cryptography, as we all know, and we will put the economic principles on top to sort it, to make it some sort of order on top of that. This is what it is about. And one important thing to consider is that this is cryptoeconomics applied for open blockchains. Permission blockchains, private blockchains, they are not so important. It doesn't apply for cryptoeconomics. It's another beast. So in this ecosystem that we're talking, there are several properties. The first is they are open. As I said, they have to be open. This is the basic of everything we will be speaking about. The second is that they are decentralized, no authority, no central point of authority. Participants are rational, and almost all of them. That means that everybody that is in this network will act in their own benefit, in their own profit. They want to profit, and they take decisions based on their own interest. Almost all of them. That's why I put almost, because there's always somebody creating confusion. And yeah, like what those guys, you have to measure them and take that into account because they can create problems. Large networks, it doesn't apply for your neighborhood. It has to be big, no censorship. All nodes can speak, and the claims are enforceable. we all know, blockchain cannot be open, blockchains cannot be edited. So this is the place where everything stands. And now let me go to the basics. So what is cryptoeconomics? Well, cryptoeconomics is the mixture of these three concepts, okay? Shaking, not stirred. I'll go through all languages because it's really fun. The first is network. Well, this is the easiest one. Why network? Well, because we need scale. Okay, this doesn't apply in a small place. It has to be big. This is the distribution of nodes of Bitcoin around the world. There are around 10,000, 20,000 in Ethereum. It's worldwide spread, no ownership of that. So that's the first thing. Okay, there has to be a network for that. The second thing is that we use cryptography. Why? Okay, cryptography, we use it to look at the past. This is what we use to verify everything that has happened. I'm gonna put this sentence here from Julian Assange that I really love because it says that the universe believes in encryption. The universe smiles at encryption. That means that even a small individual can easily create something, but it will take a big corporation, a government, and a lot of resources to decrypt that little thing. And that creates an imbalance of power. That's what it means, encryption. But we use it for two specific things in this system, which are for signatures and for history. We use the public and private keys to verify the ownership. Okay, this is important. When you own Bitcoins and you have the private key, you own your Bitcoins. And there's a zero knowledge proof. You can prove to everybody outside, it's a cryptographic term. You can, from the outside, they can verify that you own the keys without actually telling the keys. Okay, that allows us to own that money. Oh, sorry, well, that's not money, that's coins. And the second one is hashing. Hashing, we use it to check the integrity of everything that has happened. Oracle trees, all that thing. Well, you use it and you have. So you use the cryptography, these tools, for ownership and for checking the history. So this is for looking at the past. And then comes the fun one, which is game theory. Game theory is to look at the future. How? I don't know if you're familiar with game theory. Game theory is a subset of economics that basically has three concepts. There's nothing more than that. There are players, there are actors, one or many. There's a game, an auction, everything that will happen, and there's an outcome. These outcomes, they could be good or they could be bad. They could be punishment, they could be rewards. And we create this game. To illustrate how these games works, I'm going to tell you a little story about the First World War. Okay, in 1914, during the First World War, there were two sides fighting. Okay, it was called the War of Trenches. I don't know if you're familiar with that. And there were the German side and the British side, and they were fighting. And Christmas Day in 1914, they ceased fire. Suddenly, there were nobody that told them to cease fire, and they stopped shooting at each other. No general, no commander. Spontaneously, both armies stopped and exchanged gifts, played football. And the next day, they resumed shooting. But this thing happened without a central point of control. And we can explain it through game theory. As I said before, players, game, and outcome. Players, there are two sides, okay? Germans and the Brits. The game is war. It's not a game, but that's the thing that we're playing. And there's the outcome, the rewards and the punishments. That's a scale, right? From 10 to minus 10. The biggest reward will be that I own a medal. If I'm home, I'm okay. I'm a soldier. Okay, I'm a soldier at war. So if I'm home, I'm good. It's positive for me. If I don't shoot or I don't do anything, I will go to military prison and I can die. So those are from our broad range of incentives from a positive to a negative one. How to sort it in a game? Well, the game is like this. We use a matrix to put all the different options that you have. As a British soldier, you can attack or you cannot attack. That's your decision. That's your call. I mean, you are a soldier, you have your gun, but you are the ultimate decision maker of that. What can happen? Well, if the Germans attack, you will be equal. You will be at zero. But if you don't attack, you will die. If you decide to don't attack, you decide to attack, well, you can earn a medal or just remain like that. So what will happen is, as a British soldier, you are inclined, your tendency, natural tendency will be to attack because it's the best outcome for you. I can win the battle or the zero, otherwise it's bad for me. Okay? So this is why everybody shoots at war, because there's no other option. It's the best strategy for you. And that thing over there is called a Nash equilibrium in game theory. I don't know if you've seen this film, it's called A Beautiful Mind. I really hate the film, I can't stand Will Howard, I hate that direction. And in this film they explain the Nash equilibrium and they do it bad. And they do it wrong. It's horrible. And the Nash equilibrium, it means that in non-cooperative games, even if you know the strategy of everybody, you will stay with your own strategy because it's the best outcome for you. So the natural tendency of the system will go to that equilibrium. That's what happened. That's what I've seen before. What happened on Christmas Day? Well, on Christmas Day something changed because you were no longer. You can feel home for a second, and that made the possibility to change the incentives. That little change of incentive from jail to home, which is not medal, it's not a big reward. It's just a little tiny one that changed the whole thing. Changed the game, and the outcome was that nobody should. Nobody should. So what happened? Why the game changed? Well, there are factors that produced this change. The first is there were clear communication. Nobody had to tell anybody that it was Christmas. Everybody knew that. Everybody. Game repetition. This is called the game of trenches. This is not by chance. When you were shooting there, you have the same guy in front of you trying to kill you every day. So the game was repeated. And the third is that the game suddenly transformed to a non-zero-sum game. It means that both sides could win something in that part. That's what pushed the game to change, to change from attacking to don't attacking. But can I trust the other player? If I'm a soldier and I am aware of this and I think, okay, let's go for that. Let's make a small truce. Can I trust the other players? Well, you can or you cannot. You have to model the different outcomes that you can. Depends on the other players. The players are actually the guys that make the game. So there are possible outcomes. First, you can trust that everybody's honest. It can happen. Everybody's honest, so there will be no problem at all. Oh, it's gone. Well, the second is an uncoordinated majority. It means it was a crossing. It was the Shibuya crossing in Tokyo. You know, when everybody crosses and nobody knows where everybody's going. So that's an uncoordinated majority. Everybody's doing things, but they're not coordinating to attack anybody. So if I were in the trench, I could say, okay, that guy over there might want to shoot me, but they are not aligned with anybody else, so it might not happen. That's an uncoordinated majority. If they gather together and start to think in a big chunk that they were going to attack, that is a coordinated majority. Okay, this is the distribution of mining nodes in Bitcoin, with the first four holds more than 51% of the power. That's a coordinated majority. And the ultimate model, which is the model that we live in, come on, it doesn't work. It's an institution. That's the ultimate and definite model that we have. So there are four models. We now live in a place where institutions are in the middle, and those are the guys that we trust. And then we move to coordinated majority, uncoordinated majority, and honest majority. Those are the models for the players. So we have the players, the game, and incentives. That's game theory. That's a really quick introduction. And now Sandra will speak about how to apply all these concepts to blockchain. We'll see how things work there.
So Antonio explained in a brief way let's say the magic sauce of cryptoeconomics, which is network cryptography and game theory. And I will speak now also really shortly about one model in particular and one attack, because there are quite a few and we can't explain them all. So yes. So at the heart of every blockchain well, every public blockchain, because we are only speaking here about public blockchains, as you might have already seen. There are consensus algorithms. Consensus algorithms are, as Vitalik used to say, the purpose of a consensus algorithm in general is to allow for the secure update of a state according to some specific state transition rules, where the right to perform the state transition is distributed among some economic set. Yes. So what does this mean? This means that the consensus algorithm is actually the only, or the most important part of the blockchain, because it helps us without any communication between us, because we are not connected. We are connected, but we can't communicate, to update the state of the blockchain. So without the consensus algorithm, all the functionality of the blockchain will disappear, and we will have double spendings, and everything will actually collapse. So in the heart of all, as I said, the public blockchains, where we don't have a private or a consortium deciding on what's the truth, we have to find the truth with these algorithms that help us to find consensus. But the question is, how can we achieve consensus? And to understand this, I want to play a short game with you. So imagine the situation, there are two people in prison, yeah? And these two people, they can't communicate with each other. But they have a chance to get free. And the chance is they will both get a task, and if they say the same answer, they will get free. If they choose a different answer, they won't get free. So, as you can see, the incentive here, what Antonio talked about before, game theory incentive, is one of the most important things, is to get the same answer. And the task they were asked is, I don't like this, okay, is they get this number, and now they should choose a 6-digit number of all of these numbers. But again, the task is not to find a number which I like. The task is to find a number which might also use the other person. So which number do they use? Any idea? Well, it's actually this one. So why is it this one? Because it's special, because it stands out. And the situation is, if people get rewarded to agree on something, but they don't have the chance to communicate, as in our example, they will look for characteristics or something special that makes us be sure that they will find a common answer. Because then they will follow this concept. And it's actually showing in practice that it works. And this concept of human behavior was found out by, or it was actually discovered and studied by Thomas Schelling, which is a game theory economist, and he died sadly last year, because I think it would be amazing to have him now in this cryptoeconomics space, but he's not there anymore. But, so he found this out actually with a similar experiment I explained. He said to two people in New York, okay, you have a chance to get a present, to get a reward, but you have to meet, and you can't communicate. So the question is, where do they go and at which time? Again, you will think, what will the other do? And because you think, what will the other do, you will look for characteristics. You will look for cultural things we have in common, and therefore what they choose is Central Station at 12 p.m. Because this is something we all have as a special culture learning in our head. And these points are called focal points, also Schelling points, because Thomas Schelling was the person who found this behavior out. And as I said, if people can't, in the absence of communication, but they want to find a common answer, they will look for this natural, special, or relevant to them characteristics in the game. Okay, so yeah, it's true. The images are wrong. Well, okay, there was a Bitcoin image. You can't see it now. Well, so the thing is, what does this all has to do with blockchain? Well, the Schelling point concept is actually applied in proof of work. How is this applied? So if you are a miner, you have one incentive first. The first incentive is to create a block, which will be hopefully the final block. So what is your incentive? You have to create a hash, which is fulfilling the difficulty, And also, of course, will be valid, so it will play with the protocol rules of Bitcoin or Ethereum, whatever. And then once you finalize this block, you will promote this block to the network. Then this work is done. But now you have a new incentive. And the new incentive is, I want to enter the next race, the next competition as soon as I can. Because every second I wait, I have a lower probability to find as the first the next hash. So how can I enter as quick as I can the next competition? Well, by finding the Schelling point. And what is the Schelling point? The Schelling point is using this block and validate this block, which the majority of the network is already validating. Because if I choose this block, I will get a reward. And the reward is, I'm on the main chain. If instead I choose a block which the majority is not validating, I lose time. Because I validate a block which in the end is not on the main chain. So we have here the same game. If I vote for block A and everyone else does, I get a reward. If I choose a block but everyone else chooses another one, I don't get a reward. So therefore, we have the same driver, the same incentive as we've seen in our prisoner example before, to find something what everyone else is looking for. Yeah, so these are the Schelling points. But we can use this concept not only in the context of consensus algorithms, we can also use them for on-chain applications, like within smart contracts. I don't know how familiar you are with this concept, but just to let you know, whenever you write a smart contract, nearly in each of them, you have to, in any moment, you have to connect to the off-chain world. And then you have to know the truth of the off-chain world. And this is most of the time the most vulnerable point in any blockchain. Because blockchains in its own world, they're working well, but they have to connect about what is outside. I have to tell the system what's the weather in Madrid, what's the color of the floor. The system can't find by itself. And how do we do this? Well, we use oracles. We can use centralized oracles, of course. We can use web pages, we can ask experts, sensors, and all this stuff. But how can we be sure that this is the truth? Well, as you might know already, central systems, they have problems. The problem is they have a central point of failure and a central point of control. So everyone who wants can actually shut down the web page or can control it. So then, let's have a look at decentralized oracles. And decentralized oracles, they use the wisdom of the crowd. What is this? This is actually, instead of just asking one expert, we can use maybe the collective intelligence we have here in the room and ask all the people. Because if I just ask one person, is it shiny in Madrid? This person might lie. But if I ask you with the Schelling point concept, you will tell me the truth. And now I tell you why. Because the Schelling point concept, which lives in Ethereum, it's a protocol, it's a mechanism, it's the same game where I say to you, I ask you a question, for example, is it shiny in Madrid? And I tell you, if you tell me an answer, which the majority of the people will tell me in this room, you get a reward. So then you look again for a characteristic, which might everyone will say. And what is the most obvious characteristic? Well, tell the truth. Because it's so much easier to agree on the truth than to agree on the lie. And therefore, well, as we've seen here, well, he's expressing it in his words, I won't read it, you can read it afterwards. I just make a quick example. Let's say you have the connection to, in a smart contract, you need to know who won the election. Yeah? So it's Hillary or Trump. And in this game, again, you can choose. I can say Hillary or Trump. But if you say, again, what the majority will say, well, you get a challenge. So what will you say? Of course, you will say Trump because you want the challenge. And you know that everyone else will say the truth. But there's a problem. And the problem is you can attack this model with a binding attacker model. So what is the binding attacker model? This means I'm the attacker, and I want that within the blockchain or wherever, there's a different truth. I want, even though it's shiny in Madrid, I want that in the blockchain it's raining. So how do I do it? I use a byte, and I say, if you say this answer, and everyone else is not, or the majority is not saying this answer, you get a byte. Okay, let's play this with the, oh, it's so sad. There are images, and you can see them. Well, it's the same game. It's Hillary against Trump, but now we have new rules, because now we are in the attack. Let's see if it's not there. Well, it's the same game. You can choose to say Hillary or Trump. And again, if you say what everyone else say, you get a challenge. But now there's a new condition, because I'm the attacker, and I want that the system thinks Hillary won the election. So what I do now is I say to you, if you say Hillary, but everyone else will say Trump, you will get a reward. So what will happen? You will choose Hillary, because this is giving you a reward in any case. You can't lose, because if the majority will say Hillary, you will win a challenge. And if the majority is not saying Hillary, you will get my right. And what are the costs of these attacks versus the budget? Well, the costs are zero. What does this mean? If the attack will really succeed, I don't have to pay anything as an attacker. Because if this will happen and everyone will say Hillary, I don't have to pay anything. Because you just said what the majority said. But the problem is the budget. If my attack is not working, and this can happen, because some people might think, no, I'm an ethical person, I will say the truth, whatever happens, or my attack has communication problems, some people doesn't know about the attack. So if my attack for any reason will fail, and in the end, not the majority will say Hillary, I have to pay them all out. So I have to pay to the people my right. And this can get really expensive. So there's the picture now. So this can also be applied to the proof of work in the same way. We had the model before. So if you choose to block, everyone chooses, you get a reward, you're on the main chain. Now with the attack, I want that the block B is in the main chain. So what I do is I say, if you choose block B, but everyone else is choosing block A, I will get your the right. And what will happen? Well, if the attack succeeds, we will end up here, because everyone will do this. But if this is not succeeding, I have to pay the people the right. And this might be also the reason why it's actually not happened in Bitcoin already, because this budget can be really high. We know the Bitcoin network is growing. We know the Bitcoin price is so high. And this means that I actually have to offer a right which is higher than the main chain reward. And 12 Bitcoins today is quite a lot of money. So this might be the reason why the attack actually didn't happen so far. It could work, but the budget, the risky budget, is quite high. And well, we have still things to talk about, but we won't talk about proof of stake today. But of course, in proof of stake, they thought about this attack, and they created a mechanism to already not have the possibility even to have this attack happen. And this we will talk about in the next week.
Why is it important? How do you take all these concepts, and why should you care about it? Well, have you ever wondered all these figures where they come from? 21 million. Why 21 million? Why? Why there's 2.5 Bitcoins as a reward? Now, it was 50, it was 25. Why halving? Why this speed? Why is it like that? Why 10 minutes? Ethereum 30 seconds. Why is it like that? Okay, the thing, why an attack? Why everybody talks about a 51 attack? Everybody is familiar about that. Yeah, because half of the network can confabulate against, well, that's an attack. And all these together is game theory. Everything together has to do with players. Yeah, the 51 attack is a coordinated majority attacking actually the network. The game, the actual block, the mining block is a game, and the outcomes, I will have a reward, as everybody knows, every 10 minutes. Or not, I will be punished by consuming electricity. So everything together has been designed to create Bitcoin. Bitcoin, I mean, these numbers could be random, but I quietly doubt it, because they're really well thought. That's called mechanism design. It's a reverse game theory. You go to the end, you find the outcome. Okay, I want the network, the ungoverned network, to behave this way. So I choose carefully all the incentives, the game they are playing, how many players are going to be. I model all different scenarios. Are they going to be attacking? Are they not? The price is going to drop. The price is going to be up. There are so many things that could happen. And once you got everything figured out, you decide the incentives and you push the coin or the token out. This is what you should do when you create an ICO. You create an open ICO, an open token. This is a graph of the investment in ICOs versus venture capital. It was in June. It was already surpassed. ICOs is madness. I mean, when back in February, we remember that there was one ICO every 2 months. Now there's 4 a day. 4 ICOs a day. It's completely mad because, as we see it, nobody is paying attention to all these concepts. Okay, you're creating a token and you're making it to the big world, to the open world. Cool. What you're doing is creating an economy. You're creating a monopoly. You're creating a game. But you don't know who's going to play that game. The rules are a draft. And you start issuing money. And you start playing with money, with real money. Well, crypto money. As we see it, it's as if you took a jet engine and put it into a car. Will it go fast? Oh yeah, it will go fast. But it's damn dangerous. This is what's going on. In fact, there are people that no longer care about it. They're aware that they have no clue of what they're doing, and they create things like this, like the useless token. That frontally they say, give me your money because my shopping list is too big. They accept, they acknowledge that there's no knowledge behind it. However, not everything, well, this is how we perform just as Ethereum tokens, 80,000. So it's not, well, it's a good joke. It's a funny one. But hopefully there are people that are not that unconscious. There are some actors, some projects that are really thinking it through, taking into account how do I create tokens, how do I destroy the tokens, players that are doing, trading the markets, seeing what will happen if the market goes up, if the market goes down, taking all these theories together and creating a product. There are some. And now, today, we're going to talk about one of them. And this is the next section, which is Meetup, the decentralized bank. So I give the word to Laurent. That's the end of part 1. Thank you.